You know that feeling? That little tickle in your throat on a Monday morning? Yeah, we've all been there. By lunchtime, your body's aching, your head feels like a ton of bricks, and bam, suddenly you've got a very 2025 choice to make. So what are you going to do? Are you going to drag yourself to a crowded clinic and wait for hours? Or are you going to try one of these new at-home options that brings the results right to your doorstep? Okay, let's really get into it. So, first things first, let's talk about the reality of this year's flu season, because it's a little different. So what's the big deal this year? Well, it turns out doctors are watching a specific evolving version of the H3N2 flu virus really closely. You can kind of think of it as a sneakier version of the regular flu. It's a strain that keeps changing, which is a big reason why we're seeing so many people get sick. And just how widespread are we talking? Well, get this. Right now in clinics, a whopping 51% of people showing up with flu symptoms are testing positive. That's more than half. More than 1 out of every 2 people walking through the door. And it looks like it's hitting some of us harder than others. I mean, everyone's getting it, but the numbers for kids between 5 and 14 are they're spiking way higher than any other age group. And you can imagine that puts a massive strain on families, schools, and of course the whole healthcare system. And that brings us to the real problem, doesn't it? With so many people sick, clinics are just totally overwhelmed. I'm talking long waits, packed waiting rooms, exhausted doctors. It's exactly this chaos that's making people think there has to be another way. And what is that other way? Well, all this pressure has actually sparked some pretty incredible innovation. The big idea? Bringing a little piece of the hospital right to your front door. So how does this even work? It's actually shockingly simple. You've got these big platforms like Meton and JD Health that have boiled it down to just a few steps. 1, you order it online. 2, someone comes to your door to get the sample. 3, a courier zips that sample over to a real hospital lab. And 4, boom, you get your results on your phone in about 3 hours. It's pretty wild. Yeah, someone put it perfectly when they said, you can take a tiny little part of the hospital to your home. And that just nails it, right? That's exactly what these services are all about: convenience and speed. And to really build that trust, some companies are going even further. Take JD Health's Nurse at Home service. They don't just send any courier, they send an actual licensed nurse to your house to collect the sample. That's a huge deal, because it means it's probably getting done right, Less chance of a bad swab.
Okay, but all this convenience is great, but it brings up a really important question. In this rush for a super fast answer, are we giving up accuracy? Is it convenience versus certainty? Let's get into the trade-offs.
So here's the deal, the good and the bad. The pros, they're obvious, right? Fast results, you get to stay in your PJs, and you don't have to sit in a waiting room full of sick people. But the cons are pretty serious. You've got the risk of false negatives, it's really easy for you to mess up the test, and hey, the sample itself could get messed up on its way to the lab. And let's be super clear about what we mean by a false negative. It's when the test says, nope, you're fine, but you're actually sick. This happens for a couple of main reasons. Maybe you tested too soon, like on the very first day, and there just wasn't enough virus in your system yet. Or maybe the swab wasn't done right. You didn't go deep enough or get a good sample. Either way, you get the wrong answer. So what's the bottom line here? The experts are all saying the same thing. Think of these tests as a first step, like a screening tool. They're awesome for getting an early hint of what's going on. But, and this is a big but, they are absolutely not a substitute for seeing a real doctor. Especially if you're feeling really sick or your symptoms just aren't getting any better. All right, speaking of new health tech you can buy online, let's talk about another one that's been popping up everywhere, the so-called liquid mask. So what is this thing anyway? Well, it's usually a nasal spray or a gel. And the claim is that it creates this physical barrier inside your nose that's supposed to block viruses from getting in. They even call it an invisible mask in the ads. Okay, but does it actually work? Well, this is where the experts are kind of pumping the brakes. Here's why. First off, this isn't a medicine that's gone through tough testing. It's just sold as a regular product. And all those big claims, they're usually based on tests done in a lab, not on actual people out in the real world. But honestly, the biggest issue is that this so-called protective film is super easy to break. Just breathing or sneezing or wiping your nose can wreck it. So the final word from them is there's just no good evidence that it actually prevents the flu. Okay, so after all that, what's the smart play here? How do you get through this flu season? Let's build a simple, no-nonsense playbook. All right, first things first, and this is the most important one. If you are in a high-risk group, the advice couldn't be clearer. Go straight to the hospital. Don't mess with at-home tests. We're talking about adults over 65, little kids under 3, pregnant women, people with obesity, or anyone with a chronic condition. For you guys, this is not a wait-and-see kind of thing. It's a go-now kind of thing. And here's why that's so critical. Doctors talk about the first 48 hours as the golden time for treating the flu effectively. If you wait too long, the treatments don't work as well, and you risk getting much, much sicker. So acting fast is everything. Okay, so let's boil it all down. What are your smartest moves this season? Number 1, get vaccinated. Still your best shot, period. Number 2, wear a regular old mask when you're in crowded spots. Number 3, use those at-home tests, but only as an early screening tool. That's it. And number 4, if you feel really awful or you're just not shaking it, go see a doctor. Seriously, no excuses. You know, when you step back, all of this points to a much bigger question, doesn't it? We live in this world of instant everything. Food, movies, you name it. And now our health is becoming on demand too. So how do we find that balance? The balance between loving these amazing new convenient tools and still being careful and smart about our health? That's the question we're all going to have to answer, probably more and more in the future.